Jet lagged to hell. So I'm going to head out. And do a podcast. I'll just leave them in there. Let me just turn this camera down. And I'll show you where I am. Right, you can just see the airport there. A very busy motorway. I'm just in the corner of my hotel and you can see all those aeroplanes there. Let me just zoom it. So if you see those tails of all those aeroplanes, you've probably guessed. Let's take a walk outside. You can see here, from them of you who live in the UK, you've seen those signs on the Premier Inn. But I am not in the Premier Inn in Bradford. You'll be pleased to know. I am in the Middle East. And I'm not even here for a day. I'm on a layover. Just here on a layover. I'm just going to head out. The kids are asleep. Press ground floor. The kids are asleep, banging out the Z's after that flight this morning. And I'm just going to go and have a look outside. Just see how hot it does get here. There are Costa coffees everywhere. Holy shit. It's already oppressive. Jesus Christ. Okay. Now, I saw a mosque not too far from here. From roof terrace. There is a sign on roof. The sign on roof. There is a pool on roof. And as I were looking out towards the Burj Khalifa, I saw that there were a mosque really close by. Now, them kids have been jet lagged since 10 o'clock. They jumped about and pulled for half an hour and they decided, no, that's not for us. Right. So as you can see, I am in the Premier Inn, but it's not Junction 26 of the Chain Bar in Bradford. It is in Dubai. Right. So I'm going to take a walk through this neighbourhood for my first episode 110 of the Just Passing Through podcast, and it is literally me just passing through today for 12 hours. 12 hours. I'm only passing through here for 12 hours, so it's me doing the Just Passing Through. So let me just find... For them of you watching on YouTube, I'm filming on my phone, on my Android, and I'm just showing you there these Premier Inns that you get dotted all over UK, and I'm sure there's plenty in Europe, but this is the first one I've ever been in the Middle East. First one I've ever been in the Middle East. It's the second time I've been in the Middle East, and the first time it were here. But yeah, that is the Premier Inn, and you always get a decent night's kip there. Right, so yesterday, me and the kids, I'll go this way, fuck it, I'll go this way. I'll get off the beaten track. Me and the kids flew out of Manchester at 9:30 p.m. GMT on one of them double-decker things. one of them 800s. And I thought I'll choose a night flight because we'll just be bang out as soon as we get on plane. We'll be bang out as soon as we get on plane, and then by the time you come in to, after getting your 5, 6 hours, we'll be ready to go. We'll be ready to go out there and go and see Dubai. So I thought I'll get a night flight. And I had these ideas of grandeur. And then it all went, stop. There's a stop sign in the Middle East. Right. So the three of us got on that flight tired. Really tired. They were yawning. I was keeping them awake on train to Manchester from Huddersfield. They were dropping off. Although, yesterday, Huddersfield lost 1-0 to Leicester City in Championship. Leicester got relegated, obviously, last season. And a load of football fans came to get the train home. And there were some Huddersfield fans going to various neighbourhoods around Huddersfield on train as well. And they were all chanting and jeering at each other. And it's the first time that the kids have experienced anything like that. And I wouldn't say they were scared, maybe a little bit anxious. They were not to worry about. So the Leicester fans and the Huddersfield fans were chanting at each other, and I'm stood there on a platform with a Bradford City tattoo on my left forearm. But the kids were kind of like kryptonite. They kept them away. Because you're not going to beat up a fella in his early 50s with his 2 small kids unless you're a complete twat. So we got on the train, they were dropping off. I thought, oh, this is great. This is going to be fantastic because they're going to sleep all the way to the Middle East. Anyway, for some reason, when we got on that plane, they didn't want to drop off. I think they've got that big screen in front of them. They've got complete control of what they watch or what they want to listen to. And they just started watching stuff. So we get a couple of hours into flight and they start nodding, and then the meal comes round. So rather than them getting their heads down and having the meal, getting their heads down and having a sleep, they stay up for the meal. And there were buns and chocolate and rice and chicken, meatballs. The kids aren't going to sleep for that. So they stayed up. The lad especially, because he wanted to get back on the rice. Going back to the trip that we've just had in Bradford, I've got 2 kids. They've both got 50% Japanese genes in them and 50% English genes in them. The girl, my daughter, straight into this English diet, the sugar, the oiliness of the food. She has got no problem with that whatsoever. She could eat it all day, all night. There were no bedding in process. She just got straight into it. Whereas the lad were refusing it. He couldn't eat it. The food just didn't agree with him. The crisps, the fish and chips, it wasn't his bag at all. So we're all this craving for rice. And on this flight to Dubai last night, they served rice. Devoured it. Even though it wasn't the typical Japanese rice you could get, he was just happy as Larry that he had rice. So he stayed up for that. Sophia being next to window and being able to sleep on a washing line, if she had to. Let me switch the camera around again now. Fell asleep immediately. Show you this neighbourhood. Whereas me and Jean, we couldn't get off. Try as I might. it was just one of them flights where no were happening. I nodded for about an hour, and then I thought I'll just put my seat back a bit, put it back ever so slightly, and the fella that was sat behind me just tapped me on the shoulder. He says, "You put that back, put it back up." And yeah, immediately I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" So I'm trying to close my eyes, but I can't because I'm pissed off with this fella because he just told me to put my seat up, and I'm getting myself mad. Nobody else is making me mad. I'm getting myself mad, and I know I am. So I'm fucking huffing and puffing like a fucking child. And I went to get something out of my bag. And as I'm stood on the seat, I look down to where he is. And he had got his food. And we hadn't got ours yet. So all they were doing were asking me to put me seat forward so he could have his meal. And that made me feel even more of a twat. I'd acted like a child because he asked me to put my seat forward, not realising that he were eating. And it turned out row 74 on one of them big planes, that's the row that gets the meal last. So any of you that were on one of them double deckers, one of them Airbuses, just think on, everybody gets the food for you unless you're in row 73 or 72. So it were a 6.5 hour flight. About 3 hours in, I think at best, I got about 40 minutes. An hour if I'm pushing it. The lad got 2. He woke up about an hour and 3/4 before we were supposed to land. So got up, cleaned his teeth, and then there were coffee and pastries coming round. Now I don't know where I am when it comes to flying with me fasting. So I just eat when it's served to me. And I'll get back to it when I get to Singapore tomorrow. So the pastries were handed round, and then before you know it, you've got an hour left. So that's when my daughter starts stirring. Now, for 3 weeks, them two, the 12-year-old girl and the 10-year-old lad, have been in back of my granddad's car, getting driven all around Europe. And because they don't have Wi-Fi in back of car, any centimetre over the line that divides the 2 seats in back, it's World War III. Exactly the same on the aeroplane when they're surrounded by people. They do not give a flying shite. Who's there, who's listening, who's watching. And I would bollock Sophia for having a go at him, while Gene had his head on my lap and his feet pointing towards window. And then I'd look down at Gene and he'd be laughing. So I'd have to shout at him. And that we had about an hour and a half left of the flight, and that must have gone on for about an hour and a half. Yeah. So that wasn't fun. So you get off the plane in Dubai, and the good thing about this is the woman that checked us in, she knew that we had a 13-hour layover. So you don't have to pick your bags up. So you don't have to go to reclaim. Obviously, we don't have to go to the connect. I don't know if you can just see them or you watch on YouTube. If you look at the roof of the house that's in front of you, you can see a couple of minarets. And the mosque, that white mosque, is just round back of these houses. So let's head over that way. And I'll put this back up. Right. So yeah, so they were playing hell with each other. So we land in Dubai airport, didn't go for baggage claim, and I had to go through immigration. Immigration straight through, quicker than Singapore, quicker than the UK, quicker than Tokyo, straight through. And to say one of them big buses had just come through, I was quite amazed at that. So then into Dubai. Now, the Premier Inn lay on a shuttle bus, but it's not very well signposted. Now, international arrivals, I don't know if it's just from Europe, but arrive in Terminal 3. And there's not much signage to say it's Terminal 3. Well, there's no fucking signage to say it's Terminal 3, so you don't know where you are. So I just followed the signs for hotel shuttle. And all the usual suspects come in. Hilton, Holiday Inn. And then this fucking charabang driven by this Indian fella with Premier Inn stickers all over it turned up. So we get on that, drive back to Terminal 1 to drop these guests off that had just left the hotel. And then he took us round to the Premier Inn after he picked us up from Terminal 3. Now we got there and I had said to him, I'd said online, I want to get in early because I'll be arriving early, but I'll be leaving early. So I wanted an early check-in. So I get there and the room wasn't ready. And it was just supposed to be one big double bed. But Ahmed, his name is. Hang on. Let me just put a pin in that. Right. Again, you watching on YouTube, you're just seeing a big wall now. But let me present to you what I've come to have a look at. I'll do it slowly. Look at that. So for them listening, I've got this big cream-coloured mosque in front of me. Very impressive. And I'm going to walk straight across this this waste. Well, it's not wasteland, it's just sand. Sand. I thought it was just going to be dry clay. Obviously it's sand. We've got 2 minarets. We've got, what you can see, you've got a couple of little domes and the big dome in the middle. Each of the minarets and the domes have got a crescent moon on pointing towards the sky. And I'm walking to it, it looks like, from the back. The minarets are to the front. And I don't know if you can make out on that right minaret, there is a shadow in the distance. And that's the Burj Khalifa. But it's not very clear today, so you can't really see it that well. But I've come here just because I said to the kids, we are going to have to get some kind of Middle East photo because it doesn't look like we're going into town today. And they are going to come here, and it's only taking me 10 or 15 minutes to walk here. Anyway, Ahmed, the angels that walk among us, he said, look, we've got no rooms ready for you. You booked a room with a double bed. I can see you've got 2 kids. Let me get on blower to one at cleaners and see what we can do. I will get back to you as and when. He said, go sit down there. And he pointed over to, we want a fireplace. There are not fireplaces here. But it was like a reception area with big comfy couches. He said, your kids look like they're falling asleep. Take the shoes off, and if they want to fall asleep, they can fall asleep. Look at that. There we go. Look at that. Wow. There's a thing about mosques. I saw it in Thailand. You see Western people going in, shitting themselves because they don't want to upset people. So they don't really know how to go on when they're going, oh, this is just for the women. This is the women's entrance. Look at all this carving here. Oh, it's very smooth. I thought it'd be a bit rough, but it's smooth. Very, very smooth. So he said, just go sit there and I should have you sorted in about half an hour. Not 10 minutes later, he's like, Mr. Walsh, come here. I've sorted it. And I'm like, oh, cheers. So he checked all the passports, and then he said, there you go. He said, you ain't got a double bed. He says, I've given you a double and 2 singles. So he'd sorted me out with 4 beds and he didn't have to do that. He said, as for the early check-in, you were supposed to pay extra for that. Let's just wipe that, shall we? Welcome to Dubai. What a guy. So went upstairs, got into the room at about 9:30, 10 o'clock. The kids fell straight out of their jet lag and wanted to go upstairs to the pool. So I'm like, fair enough. Let's go upstairs to the pool. And it's on roof. And Dubai at 10 o'clock in the morning in August is quite unforgiving. And there wasn't much shade up there. And with a couple of kids that have jet lag, it wasn't the safest place for them to be. So I left them up there. We went up there, I jumped about in the pool a bit, I were knackered. I laid out on some bed in shade and I fell straight into a dream. And the kids came over and woke me up. Otherwise, I don't know how long I'd have been there. So I went back downstairs and sat in room and it were heavenly. The air conditioning was still on. It were great. So I thought, right, I'm going to go and get these two and get them downstairs, make them have a sleep, and they can go back in afternoon if they want. They can go back up to the pool in afternoon. So I said, just come down, have a sleep. We'll set the alarm for 2 o'clock. If you want to go back upstairs, you can go back upstairs. I'm not tired. So they jumped in the shower, they washed themselves off, and I shit you not, 10 minutes. 90 nights. They'd gone to beddy buys. And at the start of this video, that's where you saw them. Bang out. And they've been bang out ever since. And I'm coming up to about 2 o'clock now. This walk here to this mosque, I'll find out the name later and put it in a description below, has just taken me about 15 minutes. And that's when I did my podcast. So let me turn the camera around for the big reveal. Da, 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 da. Look at that. And this is just some rando. This is just some random mosque. I mean, you can look. There's no round here but car parks. There's a high school there, Gulf Indian High School. I expect that's for Indians whose families are working in the Gulf. The Burj Khalifa is right in front of us. I'll be surprised if you can make that out. And you can see a little bit of the skyline, but not much. Obviously, there's a lot of building work going on here. And there's a lot of land that I think will get built on it in the future. But comparing it to when I were here in 2006, it were no but a building site. No but a building site. And here, you can see here, all the buses, Emirates bus. It's all to do with the airline because we're so close to the airport. I think he's run out of fuel, this fella. He's getting filled up. So, what I'm going to go do now, in fact, no, today, I will go back to the airport at about 6:30, 7 o'clock. I don't have to check in any bags. I'm just going to show me tickets to Singapore. I get on a flight at 9:15. It's another 7-hour flight. And hopefully, I'll sleep tonight. I mean, I had one of them power naps that only jet lag provides you with. And I had about an hour at best. But I feel like I've had 8. So I'm feeling as fresh as a daisy. I hope I crash about 10:30, just before meal comes out so I don't eat out. But them kids, they're flatlining. So I'm going to head back now to hotel, and I'm probably going to drag him here, unwillingly, I expect, to have a look at this mosque. Now, I saw that bus driver there. He was walking about inside the entrance, and he had his shoes on. And I'm wondering if an infidel such as myself would be allowed to do the same. Now, there's a fella over there with his shoes, and I don't want to go in there filming. But it's just a fantastic looking building. It must be new. It looks new. It's very one colour. The other mosques that I've been in are very colourful. And a lot of tiles going on. That shoebox. But yeah, all this. Ah, there's a fella there with his shoes on. But I'm not gonna go in. I'm not gonna go in and make a fool of myself. I mean, look at it. It's just glorious. Yeah, if you had something like this in England, instead of those dreary old churches that made you feel like you'd always done something wrong, you'd probably want to go more. But, I mean, in this heat, look, there's some minor birds up there on them lanterns. Look at that roof. Look at that roof. You know, as soon as you walk in it, because you're in shade, the temperature drops. So as soon as you walk in, there's a sense of relief. Hello, is it okay? Yeah, as soon as you walk in, there's a sense of relief. I don't want to upset anybody, so I'm not going to go in. Moazen House. I've no idea what that means, but I will find out later. And once I get to this corner, this is where I've gone all the way around. And I think this is the Imam's house. Yeah, it is. So this is where he lives. And it looks like he is a, not CrossFitter, what is it? One of them fellas. Looks like he's got a Peloton bike, keeping himself fit. Right then. So, episode 110. I'm outside a mosque, really close to Dubai Airport, outside the Imam's house at this mosque I've just been at. And it looks like he likes to keep fit on his stationary bike. The second episode from a foreign country, and I have got 2 more countries to visit before I get back to Japan. And I will do an episode from each. So by the time I get home, I will have 4 international episodes for you. You are welcome. Keep subscribing, links below, pass it on to your friends, and I will see you in Singapore. Adios.